So maybe some of you, like me, have had periods where you have been, or maybe you're still on the brink as a result of trauma or fear. You may be hovering in those lower energetic frequencies. So just know that, it's really okay to be here for short periods of time. It's really just part of being human. But we don't want to stay in these places for prolonged periods because they can result in mental and physical health problems.
Hey there, this is Women on the Brink. I'm your host, Chris Jeffrey, a registered acupuncturist and wellness advisor with a passion for helping women live happier and more balanced lives. When I'm away from work, I'm usually outside in nature, either walking the seawall or I'm hiking in the mountains. And like many of you, my life has been filled with moments of hardship, some that I thought I couldn't overcome and really left me questioning my own strength. But through these challenges, I discovered resilience, courage, and a renewed sense of purpose. So I'm here to share not just my journey, but the lessons I've learned, and to remind you that no matter what obstacles come your way, there's always a path forward. And just to let you know, this podcast is not prescriptive. It's an offering. So please take what resonates with you and leave the rest.
Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of Women on the Brink. We are officially less than 1 week from Christmas. And I wonder how many of you are listening to this episode while you're wrapping presents or picking out frozen turkeys at Superstore. I know this can be a really busy time of year, so I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen. And I want to reassure you that you are doing enough. You are enough this holiday season, even if you're taking things down a notch or two this year, even if you're grieving or going through any of life's many emotions and challenges. And, it's so easy to get swept up by the consumerism of the holidays and feel pressure to spend more, give more, and do more, especially if you're a mom. And I know for many, this time of year can bring up some heavy emotions. For me, having my youngest daughter on the other side of the world has made it a little tougher for me to get into the holiday spirit. So wherever you're at today, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I feel that it's the perfect time of year to talk about our energy fields. We all know when we're feeling down or when we're feeling excited about, what's to come, but we don't always think about it in terms of energy. So I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the energetic frequencies that are outlined in the Hawkins scale. David Hawkins is a renowned psychiatrist and spiritual leader. He developed a frequency scale referred to as the map of consciousness. And it's based on the concept that the human mind is composed of different frequency levels ranging from 0 to 1,000. And each level represents a different stage of consciousness. And the transition between the stages is a result of personal growth and inner work. So the emotions of fear and guilt and grief and apathy are all hovering at frequencies that measure under 200, with the lowest emotion, shame, residing at a frequency of 20. And I'll put a picture of the Hawkins scale on womenonthebrink.net so that you have a visual of what I'm describing to you. So once we're operating at frequencies at 200 and more, we're transforming from struggle to a more empowered state. And at the frequency of 500, people enter into a state of unconditional love. And this is, a really difficult one to attain. And then anything above it, frequencies of more than 700, you're able to get to really rare states of consciousness that are associated with spiritual mastery. Pretty cool, eh? So the map of consciousness closely matches Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which you might already be familiar with. And this is a psychological study of how humans partake in behavioral motivation. And according to Maslow, in order for a person to be motivated to rise to the next stage of their human development, the prior stage has to be met. So at the very bottom of this hierarchy is the need for things that are necessary for survival, like shelter, food, sleep, good quality air and water, clothing. If we don't have these basic requirements, it's going to affect our emotional state, which are these energetic frequencies in the map of consciousness. So there could be fear, frustration, anger, guilt, or shame. And let's face it, there's a lot of people in the world who are still trying to make survival a reality in their life. And we see it locally amongst the unhoused people in our local communities. And I'm sure we'd all agree that it makes sense that before we can even think about fulfilling our dreams and passions, this first stage of survival has to be fulfilled. A couple of years ago, I stepped away from a relationship very suddenly, and I had to rely on friends and family to take me in for a period of about 6 months. And that was really tough. I was in 4 different places over those 6 months. And while I was grateful for the generosity from my friends and family, all I wanted was a place to hang up my clothes, cook a meal, and have some peaceful time to myself. I did have a job as an acupuncturist, but I encountered a couple of sporadic issues that left me feeling really scared about the future. So to put it plainly, I was brinking. And fear hovers at a frequency of 100. So my energy was not in a very good place during that time. And I had to put a lot of tools into practice to increase my frequency so I could get out of survival and back onto a trajectory of chasing my dreams. So some of the tools I learned from that experience have actually been implemented into this podcast. I read a shocking article recently that discussed how many women over the age of 50 were the fastest growing cohort of homeless people in Australia between the years 2011 and 2016. And the reasons for this, included aging population, the high cost of housing, domestic abuse, and a significant gap in wealth accumulation between men and women across their lifetimes. And, statistics in North America suggest that women make up about 30% of the homeless population. But there's a lot of hidden homelessness amongst us because women will often do what I did and stay with friends, family, or even in unsafe places, which means these official statistics might underreport our homeless numbers. So what causes us to be stuck in survival mode? Basically it comes down to trauma and fear. As in my case of being homeless for that short period of time, there can be fear of change. This could result from a breakup or divorce, death of a loved one, a health crisis, or even a job loss. All of these life events really do put us into survival mode because we feel like we're in a state of emergency, right? So the other thing is childhood trauma or financial difficulties and poverty, and other forms of abuse and neglect keep us in this state. So maybe some of you, like me, have had periods where you have been, or maybe you're still on the brink as a result of trauma or fear. You may be hovering in those lower energetic frequencies. So just know that, it's really okay to be here for short periods of time. It's really just part of being human. But we don't want to stay in these places for prolonged periods because they can result in mental and physical health problems. So stay with us after the break to learn how to get out of survival mode and raise those lower energetic frequencies.
Join us on our website for articles from our podcasts at www.womenonthebrink.net. There you'll find extra tools that can be used to raise self-awareness and build resilience. We want to make this experience as interactive as possible for you Brinkers. So join the forums, Introduce yourself and share your stories.
So, I've talked a lot in previous episodes about putting our focus on getting the 4 big roots of our tree deeply embedded into the earth so that they're strong and resilient. Remember, those have been our core beliefs, our self-worth, values, and boundaries. We've also been trying to manage our thoughts so we remain in charge of our emotions and our behavior. And as I was putting these roots in place myself, I started to get a better understanding of who I really am, what I'm worth and how to manage anyone or anything that causes a potential threat to that foundation by having some healthy boundaries in place. So now I'm really getting into shifting some of those lower energy frequencies like my fears. So as I looked at ways to take care of myself, I asked, what is it that I need that can really nourish my body, my spirit, and my mind? So here's my list. The first thing is to practice mindfulness and meditation. And mindfulness really means just being in the present moment. I'm not ruminating about the past or having anxiety over what's coming down the pipe. And yes, it can be tricky at first. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it really does take daily practice. So sometimes I have to grab those crazy thoughts and reel them back in. And also my practice of regular meditation where I connect with my inner self can sometimes clear any negative thoughts I have. I started meditating by using guided visualization and then gradually moved into setting an intention for the meditation. And now I'm okay just to sit in silence and see what comes up. And the second thing is diet and exercise. And up until now, I haven't mentioned these 2 things. But wow, I mean, these are so necessary in raising your energetic frequency. When I'm eating shit, I feel like shit. I know it goes without saying. And believe me, I've tried just about every style of eating out there from paleo, vegetarian, vegan. And what I've found is that the best diet is the one that works for you, as long as it's rich in nutrients. Because food is fuel, and the wrong kind of fuel can actually make you feel terrible. I mean, just think how different you feel after you've eaten a salad versus how you feel after eating a fully loaded pizza with cheese and meat. I mean, I love pizza, but man, I feel like a sloth after a couple of pieces. And with exercise and movement, I mean, there's so many short-term and long-term benefits. Physical activity releases endorphins, which are the body's natural mood lifters. So any form of movement helps release stagnant energy and elevates your mood. And I feel I've got the healthy eating and exercise piece down, but here's where I need the help: rest and sleep. So why haven't we been taught how to rest? I mean, I have to work at resting where there's no TV, no phone, no doing, no busying. I took classes on how to meditate. Why aren't there classes on how to rest? I even did an internet search to find classes, to find out where I could learn how to rest. Why does Irish dancing come up on that search? And I think the last time I truly rested was in a hammock on a beach in 1993. But even then, there was probably a mudslide cocktail involved, so that doesn't even really count. And the benefits of good sleep, as we know, sleep repairs cells, it boosts your immune system, it revitalizes your spirit. But I've always been a terrible sleeper, trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, and getting into a deep sleep. Yeah, I better put that on the 2025 list of things to work on. And then there's all the other things we've talked about, like surrounding yourself with positive people, great activities, and music. Yeah, cue the Irish music now. I'm learning to engage in creative and fun things and just let go of stuff. Letting go of stuff is big, whether it's forgiving someone or decluttering items from my house. And also call in your ancestors or your angels or whatever resonates with you. You don't have to do this on your own. And lastly, bring in the humor. I've sure learned to laugh at some of the more uncomfortable situations I find myself in. Humor is one of the best ways to release tension and raise those vibrations. Yeah, humor and sex. One of those things might be easier to squeeze in around the holidays than the other, but I hope this episode resonated with you. I'd love it if you could leave me a review and share with your friends who might benefit from listening as well. And from all of us here at Women on the Brink, we want to wish you a happy holidays and a very Merry Christmas to all who celebrate.
Thanks for joining. And I want you to know that this isn't just a podcast. This is a movement. So share this information with your friends and let's go, ladies.